AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Anusha Dandapani. Anusha is the Chief Data and Analytics Services Officer for UNICC. Anusha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
Great. Well, Anusha, let's start with yourself. Obviously, you've got an incredibly interesting role at the UN, but can we start with your background, how you first got involved in technology?
I grew up all my life in India, and I'm very passionate about science, math, and technology. So I pursued my engineering in information technology. Applying science, math in building technology-based solutions really excited me much. So slowly I realized that I didn't want to be a statistical data point, right? So I wanted to become more of a data science focused person. So I took up a data science lead role at an investment bank, and now I'm at UNICC. Slowly I realized that data is the crux of technology, and that is where my passion is, and that is why I'm here.
Excellent, thank you for that. So you mentioned you're at the UNICC. So tell us a bit about that. First of all, explain who the UNICC are, and then talk us through your role and the responsibilities of the organization.
I serve as the Chief Data and Analytics Officer at United Nations International Computing Center. And UNICC, we focus and we work with many UN agencies within the UN family, like about 70 clients worldwide. Example of our clients happens to be UNICEF, UN Women, WHO, UNDP, you name it. Every sort of a partner agency within United Nations is our client. And the data and the strategy is on everyone's mind, right? So it is a fundamental part of the digital transformation. So many UN agencies are currently going through that evolution. And the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, has released a data strategy where he calls for action by everyone, everywhere with insight and impact and integrity. So it is to not just to meet the challenges, but to meet the challenges to make a better world. And with our 17 sustainable development goals, from no poverty to ending hunger, so data sits at the crossroads to help meet these goals. So I advise and the partner organizations, including the industry partners we have with UNICC and also the academia, on solving data-driven problems by leveraging AI, machine learning, and some problems happens to be analytical problems or data engineering problems. But previously, I was a data science lead at Barclays, where I led several strategic initiatives related to electronic surveillance to financial crime compliance. And that mindset and that experience definitely helped me in driving the agenda here at UNICC. And I was responsible beyond data science also to deliver the machine learning sort of solutions. And then side passion that I have is I also teach at NYU SPS. I teach a course on visual analytics, and all this kind of helps me serve our UN agencies, and that is my mandate.
No, I appreciate that. It's a really good overview, and it certainly helps set the stage for some examples you can give us. So, okay, the UN is obviously a well-known organization, and part of that is the technology and data that drives the organization. Could you give us some insight into specific challenges that you and your team are using AI and data science, and that you're solving business problems within the UN? What does that look like?
My focus is to help my team and stakeholders in many different UN agencies in applying their data problem solving skills. I also help my stakeholders with three specific challenges that they happen to run into. Number one is understanding the problem. When I mean understanding, what I mean by understanding by problem is like what exactly is the issue and what is the end goal that you're seeking to achieve, and why is this problem important to solve for. And number two, I help them define the scope of the problem along with any assumptions that they may have undertaken in order to address it. Because, for example, is the solution generalizable, or will it only work in a specific instance? Why, etc. Right? And number three, discuss the trade-off to think through and articulate the pros and cons of different possible solutions, because there is no right answer in data science, right? Like there is likely no best answer either, because there are multiple ways to solve a problem, and I really care for is how you approach them.
Really good to hear how you break that down and work with the various business stakeholders, because obviously you're the central support on all things data, and there's so many different sections of the UN that rely on data to make informed decisions and strategies. That leads us nicely into, what you love most about what you're doing. Can you give us some insight into, your role is multifaceted, supporting various organizations, but it'd be good to hear of what you love most about your job, why you enjoy working at the UN.
When it comes to AI ethics is my passion, John. And I do believe also is that there is a lot of work still to be done in this space, and such as improving the capability of the machines to be unbiased. We have seen early examples, like for examples of sexism, racism, and so many other forms of biases in these AI-powered algorithms. But the good news is that we create AI, right? And it is entirely within our control to teach it the right values, the right ethics. So we just need to act sooner than later. And the other focus area that I really, really enjoy is how to interpret insights from the algorithm. A system might pump out results, but it's up to us as humans to see how to use that information, right? So it is not just about building the algorithm, it is about how to use those insights. So how we use AI, who creates it, and what we do with it, the data is the utmost important. So that's why I love working with data, and AI ethics is my passion focus area.
Yeah, it's great to hear, and also the industry and the organization that you're working in, the impact that the UN can have is incredible. I want to circle back to a point you made in your introduction where you talked about how you're obviously in a senior level role at the UN, but you also teach. So I'd love to get your perspective on how you balance academia to industry, and how you made the transition yourself from academia into industry.
So I think applying the best of both worlds in my situation worked in my favor. And my mission is actually to apply machine learning and AI for data for good initiatives. See, I do believe there are many ways that we can bring together experts from public sector, from academia, from research, from social media, and all to share their expertise. But earlier this year, when I led a data-driven initiative wherein we identify key insights to help people with hearing loss, and identifying how we can apply data to fix the social challenges and inequalities that we see in our society, kind of helped me understand that bringing the best of both worlds, from transitioning from academia to industry, definitely gives you the possibility of applying AI and also the knowledge that you bring from academia to wisdom of applying to the greater benefit.
Anusha, yeah, it's great to learn that your mission is what drove you to make that transition, and working on good initiatives. Looking at some of the projects that you've been involved in at the UN, and and looking at the impact, when you talk about your stakeholders and you talk about the business impact, could you give us an example of a project that you're particularly proud of, that you worked on at the UN that impacted a group of people or a section of business?
See, my passion project has always been to explore explainable AI approaches and uncovering biases in algorithms. See, when data teaches machine learning algorithm the wrong lessons, the machine learning developers call it data bias. Data bias is one of the reasons for algorithms biases to be sort of cooked in, which can make all the machine learning approaches seem not trustworthy. See, the data also used in the machine learning algorithms can also help the machine learning algorithm guess about the real world scenarios, but better the data, the guesses get better. And the issues arise when the data is flawed and has unintended biases embedded. So for me, the main focus that I have learned so far in working with the data sets that we are helping our clients with is that the data quality. See, the organizations need to be aware that these biases and understand how that can influence the decisions of these machine learning algorithms. My focus is to help our clients to support machine learning approaches that are interpretable and explainable, and beyond all that, also focusing on the data quality that is being applied to these machine learning algorithms. So one of the instances where we observed is that not just identifying the biases, but creating a routine audit around the data to combat these data biases, and also adhering to best practices. Because we have this unfair advantage of working with various clients within the UN family, we are able to identify the best practices that we learn from one of our clients, and we can easily apply it as best practice and the learning across to the other client. And in the current project or the recent project that we are working on, we were able to also take the good learnings and apply it as an audit to combat the data bias that would come about in the data capture system, and also introduce better data capture hygiene. It not only helps in maintaining good data, but also helps in overcoming these biases that would come about by deploying this machine learning algorithms on top of this data.
Thank you for that. And given the work that you're doing with the various business units, this is impacting, overall society, whether it's climate change or many of the other factors which the UN are involved in. Final question from me, Anusha. You're somebody who has navigated the industry incredibly well. You've worked in finance. You made a huge transition into this sector now. Looking back, what advice could you offer, or how would you suggest someone navigates the industry starting off or early on in their career?
I don't think the digital transformation and implementing AI processes will go a long way in making public sector organizations like the UN, government, and many non-for-profits very transparent. They will make applying AI, make it transparent, efficient, and citizen-friendly. And I do think, data and statistics are no longer in the purview of researchers in academia anymore. This has become more evident after this COVID-19 pandemic, that people worldwide are valuing the understanding of data and the data-driven insights. So people around the world have realized that the usage of data is not only to make better decisions, but also about what kind of TV show you watch on Netflix, but we also want to see what kind of world we want to live in. So I do believe that creating value using data science is going to be applicable across the board. And if you are focused in data and data science, as a data science practitioner, I do see that the abundance of data has made our reason to drive insights even more relevant right now.
Absolutely. I think it's a great example that data science can be impactful in all areas, not just algorithms to help us on our TV shows, but real world impact. Anusha, this has been a pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on, talking us through your own background, your role at the UN, how you go about working with your various business stakeholders, and the importance of AI ethics and AI for good. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, John. My pleasure.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.